Football lovers, you're still watching the continent's #1 magazine show, and this is the part of the show where we give you the answer to that trivia question I asked you earlier. Remember, I wanted to know how many times Mamelodi Sundowns has played an Egyptian club in the CAF Champions League. SC?
I don't know if this was a trick question for me, Ade, but it's been 27 times that Sundowns has actually faced Egyptian teams in this club competition.
SC, nice to have you back on the show. Now let's talk about what happened at Loftus. Recently, I had the privilege of going back to the crime scene of what happened. Now, can you just tell us?
Why do you say it's a crime scene?
Because conceded in the last minute, it's considered a crime in world football.
Okay, I'll take that. I'll take that.
Yeah, so your overall impression of that game?
Good game from both teams, but firstly, I have to give a shout out to Jurisic, Pyramid's coach. What an amazing team. What an amazing coach. The euphoria around the guy is just something else for his players. You know, I think he gives his players a beautiful energy on the touchlines, and he's done himself so well.
Okay, so now let's talk about the tactics of Mamelodi Sundowns, because Miguel Cardoso could have started Adams. He had players on the bench really that could have come into the game and won it for them. Did he manage the game well enough when Mamelodi Sundowns went 1-0 up?
Before you even get to the managing of the game, you manage the game before it starts. Let's talk about the lineup itself. When he put out the lineup, and looking at the teams that he's played before, coming up against the Pyramids team that has put a Pirates on the sword, a rampant Pirates. You know, you look at how Pirates was playing into the group stages, into the semi-finals.
So who didn't you want to see in that starting lineup? You didn't want to see Salis. You didn't want to see Matthews.
It's a dragging conversation, to be honest with you, to see the tactical ill-discipline from Cardoso. Because why I say the tactical ill-discipline, I say that because he's a coach that has been so defensive and is good in terms of defending. And you look at that, he goes into this one and he says, in the 35th minute, he brings out Tashfik Matthews and he includes an Adams from there. And for me, that was the first loss that he had. Because if I'm Jurisic and I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, I think I got him where I want him.
You want to see Zwane also?
Prior to even getting to Zwane, you've got people that can destabilize the game, you know. One, you look at an Allende to say, who do I have on the bench that can help Allende out? You know, yes, you brought on Adams. Put your foot on the ground, on the ball, dictate the game. He did that. Going forward, what do I need to do to manage the game? Did he find people on the bench that could manage the game?
Let's talk about the actual goal, where the crime happened. Now, what could they have done to stop that cross from going in? You
know, for me, I think Pyramids, through probably the 80 minutes when you look at it, they've been playing a diagonal ball. I'm going to go back to a conversation that I think we should have had it on top of our conversation. Fiston Mayele. You know, you look at Fiston Mayele in terms of the threat that he has. And every time Pyramids were playing the diagonal ball was to find him. The two centre-backs from Sundowns did such a good job up until he left the pitch. That is when you look at the 10 of the game. They started to sleep and they started to relax and say, the guy that was doing the job, he's out, we've done our job. Now, in terms of your defensive structure, the cross that comes in, Morena loses the ball. There's two players in front of him, which is Neo Mayema. Remember Neo Mayema came on as a sub. Was he psychologically ready for this game? Leading up into the whole entire tournament. We've seen in the Chen tournament do so well. Was he ready for this game? I doubt he was, because...
And Peter Shalulile too.
Peter Shalulile as well, but I'm not gonna point out at Peter Shalulile because he plays up top. I'm talking about players that playing in the midfield that need to manage the game for you. Neo Mayema was brought into the game to manage the game for Sundowns. When that happens, when Morena loses the ball, he's the guy that needs to press. He didn't do that. The cross comes in, the ball drops right in the 18 area. El Karti comes in and puts his head on the block.
And then we saw the header that broke SC's heart. You can say it on TV. It's okay to cry on camera. The fans out there understand.
To be honest with you, it was quite disappointing to see that. You know, you've got a Grand Gegan and Libusa that has such a beautiful game. And in that space of a minute, they
switched off. They switched off. Okay, historically, we've seen South African sides coming back, struggling to come back after they've drawn
A first
their
fixture.
first leg, their first leg. Orlando Pirates have done it though.
Yeah, you have to.
Now, do you think psychologically it's playing in Mamelodi Sundowns' heads that they have it all to do in Cairo?
Yeah, they do. I mean, Pirates did it in '95. Jerry Skosana making an interesting impact into the game. And I think Sundowns has that as well. But prior to getting to that, they need to nullify a Pyramids team that is so strong.
Okay, so I'm going to get predictions from you.
Predictions would be Sundowns would win 1-0. And people will ask me a question to say, why am I saying Sundowns 1-0? I think Cardoso has been playing on that effect. All the games that he's played away, except for the game that he played against Raja Casablanca in the group stages, that's the game that he lost. But entirely in the whole entire competition, he's been able to dictate in terms of that. So Sundowns to win 1-0. In terms of his defensive structure, he's a solid coach. Jurisic, on the other hand, in terms of nullifying that, he's got players like Torre, he's got Abdel in there, he's got El Karti in there. That could do the effect. But for me, I look at Sundowns and I say they've been stable in terms of doing that. And I also talk of the pedigree. There's a conversation we didn't have in terms of the mid-game they had. Psychologically, they won the league. They think they won the league. Al Ahly thinks the same thing. Sundowns need to play into that.
Don't worry, we're going to be back next week checking on his temperature, checking on his blood pressure after watching the game, because it's going to be an incredible match. 1st of June. Is it going to be Pyramids FC that are going to be keeping that trophy in Cairo, the new CAF Champions League trophy? Or are we going to see a parade in Pretoria that SC and I are going to be attending? It remains to be seen. Till next time, Nenitanda Nonke Kakulu.